I'm sure many of us know someone, if not you, who's felt uncomfortable talking about religion and money or just have feelings of shame or guilt about it. Welcome to Yahweh's Money, a podcast where we discuss the crossroads or intersections of religion and money. We're going to go deep into topics like tithing and saving and debt and so much more from the religious view. I'm your host, Shay Cook, CEO and founder, Crusaders for Change, LLC, and our co-host is Vanessa McNelly, one of our financial counselor, coach, educators. Let's talk about God and money. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Yahweh's Money. Today we're going to be talking about relationship money matters, not just marriage, but beyond that, all kinds of different relationships and how money can affect that. Hey, my co-host Vanessa, how are you?
Hey, Shay, I'm ready to talk about this first off. I feel like this can impact so much in our lives that we really don't think or talk about.
Exactly. Money is sometimes a hot topic. I say many times, a hot topic in many relationships. Not everybody has the same values or mindset when it comes to money. So, what do you do when you and your partner, spouse, or friend or family member are not on the same accord? What do you do,
Mm,
Vanessa?
Well, there's lots of things we can do. That's the first.
Exactly.
Do we handle it like adults or not? I guess is the first thing. I think it can
Exactly.
impact so many areas of our life, whether it is a significant other, a friend, a parent, a child, a cousin, whatever it is. It can impact the time you spend with them because if you're not on
Mm,
the same page and you're going to butt heads about it, it can make you not want to hang out with that person or spend time with that
exactly.
person. Or it can make you really want to hang out with them because they're always spending money on you.
Exactly.
so,
I've
so,
seen that.
yeah. So I think it just depends on the situation, but there's so many ways to
Mhm.
handle this.
Exactly. So whether you have different salaries, you have different spending or saving habits, if one is more hands-on with the finances than the other, or deciding whether one or you will stay at home if you're partnered, or just communication is very important in
Mhm.
any relationship, as we always talk about, all we hear about, but especially around money, because having these conversations can help prevent arguments about money, right?
Right.
I mean, just in Ephesians 4:29 says, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up as it fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." So, what I hear from that is, we need to have conversations about
We
everything in
do.
life, including money, and just, let's be positive when we're having these
Right.
conversations. Yeah, there might be some challenging, crucial conversations you need to have in these
Hmm.
relationships when you're having money, like having a conversation about tipping before you go out with your
Hmm.
friends, or if you're going to any kind of event or vacation, who's going to cover this, who's going to cover that, or you got
Right.
kids in a relationship and you're not married and you just partner, who's going to pay for this and pay for that. I mean, there's
Yep.
conversations that need to be had in every, if you have a ailing parent or a family member that's going through something, you have to support them in some kind of way, or a sibling and whatever. I mean, I can go on for days because I have stories for days about
Yeah.
relationships,
Yeah.
and money matters. It's really key. I always say money is intertwined in every piece of our lives, spiritually,
Hmm.
mentally, physically, community, family, the list goes on. And we need to have conversations about
We
money.
do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have them early enough either in these
Oh,
relationships.
that's a good part. Yeah.
Because I know one thing that I always talk to clients about is if they're struggling and they're in a situation where they can't really spend a lot, find a buddy that is wanting to
Mm,
save money and will, sit with you at lunch in the break room and bring something just like you do
exactly.
instead of going out every day. So, you
Hmm.
surround yourself with the people that, you are and you kind of want to be at the same time.
Hmm.
So if you surround yourself with people who have the same money habits as you, it makes, you know, achieving your money goals a whole lot easier, number one.
So much easier.
But sometimes we can't do that. And
Hmm.
that's okay too. But yeah, I mean, I think there's something about, you can be kind and firm. I saw that on
Hmm.
I think one of our tweets this week or something. But you can be kind and firm, and you can have good
Hmm.
conversations that you really kind of talk your point and do it in a kind way. And I think that's the problem is
Hmm.
a lot of times we don't approach this in a kind way.
Hmm.
We're very judgy with it.
Yeah, amen. We're so judgy. And I was going
Right.
back to what you're saying, like with the lunch. When I worked in the government, I had a friend set that ate
Yep.
lunch in the break room. We brought our lunch. And then I had a friend set like that would
Mhm.
go out and eat. So literally I would switch up like every few weeks or every other day. Like I had a friend's like, all right, when we eat lunch and this is with this friends. And then all
Yep.
right, these other set of friends and coworkers, I would go out to eat with lunch. So I had that balance. And I always had a budget
Exactly.
too when I went out because in
Exactly.
DC it's so expensive. But having
Yeah.
that kind conversation is so important because there's been so much, I want to say hatred, but just disgust and anger around money in my life
Oh,
when
yeah.
talking to friends and family,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
there comes the judginess and the jealousy, because somebody
Mhm.
might have a little bit more. I mean,
Mhm.
I'll admit I've been envious and jealous of some people that have been able to do
Sure.
whatever, and it's funny, it's not that I didn't have per se or I didn't have, but even when I did have, I just chose differently.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I would feel mad if somebody was doing something with their money that I'm like, "Ugh, I wish I wanted to do that, but I
Mhm.
know I need to do this because
Yeah.
I'm just in a different space in my time, in my life."
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And it can make it hard. I know, like myself, I love to go and I love to travel and I like to, go out and do things. And in the past, when I've dated people who weren't used to that lifestyle, or
Mm,
spent money on other things, I would find myself feeling compelled to pay for them because
mm,
I wanted someone to do this with. But in all honesty, we weren't really compatible because we had different,
mhm.
standards and different sets of guidelines for life. And, it's one of those things you have to find that balance too and find
You
somebody
do.
that, you can do fun things with, but somebody who will also put you in your place if you need it to. So,
Mm,
mhm.
exactly. And God wants us to have a good time and enjoy our
Exactly.
treasures, as they say. But, we're here to serve Him and serve people and, not necessarily always and serve ourselves in the way we need, for necessities and
Right.
stuff. But
Right.
it always comes back to that with relationships, just people comparing and what they have or what they don't
Mhm.
have. And that leads
Mhm.
to the envy, and which is not healthy. It's not healthy
Yeah.
at all.
And it's
Yeah.
so hard to not judge. It's so hard to not judge,
It's so hard.
especially doing what we do because we see this all the
Mm,
time and we have these conversations all the time.
all the time.
My brother him and his wife, they have not had a working kitchen for years. And it's
Mm.
it's funny because they'll put money into other things like building a swimming pool or buying a little airplane, but they don't finish their kitchen and they literally will spend $4,000 a month on a food budget
Oh
because they're
my
just going
God.
out to eat every month and they're doing whatever they want. And it drives me crazy. And it's so hard for me not to judge that situation. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's hard when you find yourself in these relationships with people that see things so differently than you do.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there is a way to have the conversations, but sometimes it's not your own business too. Like the way they
Exactly.
provide for their family is not my business.
That is so
Yeah.
good. That is not our business. My MYOB. Mind your own business.
Exactly. But when you're spending time with somebody and
Hmm.
they're always suggesting something that maybe you can't afford or something you don't want to pay for because you have other goals, that's a conversation. And then you find a way to make it work or find a middle ground or take turns or whatever it might be. But there's so many ways to make it work if you want to make it work.
Exactly. You know what thing I know I'm judgy, and it's a lot to have to do with my upbringing and just having and I project a lot on, I don't project it onto clients, I project it onto myself, my feelings, and is when there is a couple, married or unmarried, and one of them is not working, and as a couple, they may have chosen for them not to, this one person to work, but then they're struggling,
Yeah.
and this person's capable of working and making money.
Yes.
That drives me insane. And I
Yes.
know that some
Yes.
people
Yes.
just choose that, and it's like, why would that partner that's working struggle if you could just go get a
Right.
part-time job or a hustle?
Right.
You don't even have to
Yeah.
get a full-time job. And I understand even if you have
Mhm.
kids, but if your kids over a certain age, like you need
Mhm.
to get a job. But I know that's not everybody's thing. I know traditional families still
Right.
exist, and somebody may stay home and somebody may go to work and
Mhm.
take care of house and home. But I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't, and I'm sure that has something to do with my parents. I know. I'm
Right.
not sure. I
Yeah.
know there's something to do with my parents. But it just drives me
Mhm.
crazy because I'm like, I never wanted my husband to struggle, like financially. Like, if
Yes.
I can get my
Yes.
behind up and make some money, I'm gonna make some money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So,
and usually the
you
person who
know,
stays at home spends more too because they are home.
yes, they're home.
Yeah, yeah, and they're
Yeah.
making it harder
Yeah.
on their partner who feels the
Yeah.
pain, and they justify it, "Well, I'm at home with the kids all day, and I'm bored and I'm lonely,"
Mhm.
and I get that, I understand that, like, the times I've been a stay-at-home spouse, I was absolutely miserable, and you do have to get out and do things, I understand that,
Yeah.
but when you make that sacrifice, because it is a
Sacrifice.
sacrifice, you have to make changes.
And that's where the conversation is so
Mhm.
important. Like, first of all, you need to make sure that both of you guys are comfortable with the situation of one
Right.
staying home and other working. And then you need to set the some kind of guidelines or spending plan and budget. Like, while you're home and you're taking care of house
Mhm.
home, this is what you can spend on food or clothing or for the kids or
Exactly.
whatever. And then if it gets just out of control, like there has
Mhm.
to be some kind of agreement that either the person that's working is going to get a better job or going to get a second job. Still sucks to me that you have to get a
Right.
second job and the other person don't have a job. But again, see, that's Jay
Yeah.
being judgy.
Yeah.
But and I don't share that with clients when I see that, but I try to like, okay, so
What can
does
we
anybody?
do?
Because exactly, and
Because you
then
don't wanna
they
give
looking at
them
me
the
like,
answers. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you don't want to give them the answers. You don't want to come off as shady. You don't
Mhm.
want to come off as
Mhm.
judgy. But it's just like, and then some of them are like, they don't even want to meet with us anymore because they know where we're saying, even though we're not
Exactly.
saying it. And so they're
Yes.
like, okay, enough is enough.
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, well, y'all live in misery because one of y'all
Right.
can go get another job. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so, and I see that even with just across many different relationships with
Mhm.
children, right?
Mhm.
We can go on the other side. Like if you got a
Ooh,
child, you can
yes.
be single or married and you got a child
Mhm.
who's spending all of your money
Right.
and they're not working
Right.
or they're not really trying to do better.
Yeah.
And it's like, why
Yeah.
you keep on enabling your kid? Like, what is wrong with
Exactly.
you? Like,
Exactly. My aunt, so she was a single mom of 2 most of her life, and one of her best friends was a single mom of 2 who had children who were a little bit younger, and that
mm,
was something she struggled in this relationship with her best friend for years because this
oh
mother
wow.
gave both of her boys credit cards, paid for their car
Oh,
payments. They had better cars than she had. She had a full-time job and a part-time job while these kids were in school and
wow.
didn't have to work. And, she was literally paying for her sons to go on dates in college.
Oh, what?
Yes, yes, and my aunt was like, "This is not okay, like, this no you can tell them no," and they had such a bad argument and fight over this, they haven't spoken in, like,
No
3
way.
years.
Oh my
You know?
god.
And it's like, you can't sit there and listen to it and listen to it and listen to it all the time and have somebody complain if,
Yeah,
if they're not gonna take suggestions or they don't want to see the change. So that's another side of this too is, when you're hearing about these situations and you're in the midst of it and you're watching it and it's driving you crazy too, those are other
exactly.
decisions you have to make.
It is so true. Oh my
Mhm.
god. And I just oh my god. I that drives me crazy. I mean, I have a college student that just graduated, so yay her, but
Yay.
just
Yeah.
her trying to get a job has been an issue and and trying not to enable her and I told her we can only order out
Mhm.
once a week. So you
Perfect.
better pick wisely. And then
Yeah.
I've been pulling out my credit card rewards and getting gift cards to like Panera and stuff, so I don't have to use my own money.
I
So,
do the
and
same
I'm
thing,
like,
Shay.
okay,
Do the same thing.
it's
Yep.
just like,
Mhm.
can you need? And so what we've been doing is we cook a meal like for four, it's three of us, and that fourth serving we split
Mhm.
for lunch. So it's like
Yeah.
we eat half of it for lunch the next day. Like
Yeah.
we really living in here like we ain't got no money. I don't even care because I'm trying not to spend no money on this child because I just like you need to get a job. And then our insurance went up the other
Right.
day, like
Ah.
almost $120 a month USAA.
Oh my
Okay, love you,
goodness.
but come on.
Right,
But
right.
um and I told
Ah.
her,
Mhm.
you need to get a job because I don't care if it's temporary
Yeah.
and or
Yes.
permanent because
Yes.
you got to pay the difference on this because
Exactly.
it's crazy. And so I had a
Yeah.
conversation. I was mad and frustrated, but I went up there and I said, Alana, this is what's going on. I told her the
Yep.
insurance well used to be this before the pandemic. Unfortunately, all insurances, no matter what type, auto and whatever,
Exactly.
it's all going up. And
Mhm.
literally the last 3 years, it's gone up $100 a month each year. And I mean,
Mhm.
like, this doesn't make sense to me. So that's another
Right.
conversation. So I
Yeah.
told her this, and I was like, I literally, thank God I had been saving for, like, I had two savings
Mhm.
of two. Anyways, that's too much details.
Mhm.
But I had saved for it, so I was able to pay the difference.
Right.
And then you know how when you renew, you got the last session, the last, a
Mhm.
series of payments due, and then you got the news. I was like, oh my God. So it was just a lot. I'm making me hot thinking about it. It was just so mad. I called USAA and da da da.
Yeah.
And so, I was just like, Alana, it's time. Like, you
Yeah.
have to pay this. Like, you're gonna have to help us with this. I mean, because it's
Yeah.
just too much. It's
Well,
too much.
and kids and she's not a child anymore, obviously, but she's still your kid.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah,
don't
she's still my kid.
understand the implications of all this. They
Mm-hmm.
think, oh, I'm just going to go back to my old bedroom. Everything's going to be the same. But it's not at all. Things have changed so
Not at
much, and there's
all.
so many
Exactly.
expenses that, you
Mm-hmm.
guys have been handling and taking care of so she can get an education to take care of herself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many things that go into this. It's not just, okay, take your time, all that good stuff. I mean, I used to
Mm-hmm.
have an ex who had a second job and worked 4 nights a week so his kids could play extracurricular activities.
I've
And it
heard that
wasn't
story
even,
before
yeah,
from
and it's
several
not
people.
even like you can choose something that you excel in and hopefully we can get a
Mm-hmm.
scholarship out of this. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
boys play sports, all my boys are going to play whatever they want to play, and you're
Mm-hmm.
working your tail off to pay for this and, racking up debt, and you're like, how is this okay, and what is this teaching your children?
And wonder where the entitlement comes from.
Exactly. Exactly. That's I've
Oh my
had clients
God.
in the past with kids, and they've lived in a mobile home, and they both had amazing incomes, and they were in debt every month, and you have the talks, and it's like, "Oh, well, my daughter had prom and she spent about 4 grand on a dress and a this," and you're like, "What?" Like, oh, I don't even understand this conversation we're having. So it's like parents, and I want to say bless their hearts because I'm a
Mm,
Southern girl, but they think they're doing these amazing things for their kids, and I
mm,
understand on the outside that's what it looks
mhm.
like, but you're not teaching them the skill set that's going to teach them to take care of themselves later on. So it's like
Exactly.
giving a man a fish or teaching him to fish, you
Exactly.
know? Yeah.
Or they need to seek some kind
Yeah.
of counsel or help from, a
Right.
financial
Right.
counselor like us or a
Yeah.
spiritual advisor or
Yeah.
do couples counseling or somebody
Right.
because people need help. And I
Mhm.
mean, I'm just going to say Americans overall, we just need help when it comes
We
with the money because we're just
do.
doing too much.
We
Yeah.
do, we do.
Yeah.
And then other relationships we have, as you know, my boyfriend and I, so we are both very much on the same page with money. And that's something that kind of
Mm,
bonded us early on because we talked about
mm,
it. And it's okay to have the,
good.
the basic conversations, but we cook every weekend and we do free
Mm,
activities, and, we'll save up and do something fun. We're not going to say no to some things, but, we've actually signed up for like this meat box because we both like steak. And it's like instead of going out to have a steak once every 2 or 3 weeks, we can have it every weekend if we do it like this.
nice.
So, it's just making some adjustments and spending time with people and making sure everybody's needs are met, but you're still having that connection. And that's what really
Exactly.
matters, I think, with all this is the connection.
Really. And working together as a team, like you guys
Hmm.
are, like you and TJ, like to accomplish money goals is a winning recipe for
Yeah.
success, right? If you're going in opposite directions and accomplishing financial goals, it's hard to avoid conflict. And according to bestlifeonline.com, not agreeing on big picture decisions is the number two reason couples break up. And, in Ecclesiastes 4 9 through 11 says, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up.
Yep.
So, whether it's budgeting, building savings, or paying down debt, there has to be a compromise when making financial decisions that impact the
Exactly.
relationship. It has to be a compromise,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we see this a lot of times with couples, especially younger couples that are newer in a relationship.
Mm.
And they're usually married when I talk to them with this. But a lot of times somebody will say that is their debt. And I'm like, you
Mm.
married that person, you married their debt. It is your combined
Exactly.
debt now. Just because one person's struggling does not mean that you have the right to just do whatever you want anymore.
Exactly.
You have to meet these goals together. I mean, same thing when somebody gets sick. It's not just, okay, you're sick. I'm still going to go out and do what I want to do. You take care of that person
Mm,
and you help
you
make
take
things
care of them.
better. And it's the same thing
Yeah.
with money. You help and you don't judge because it's something that happened in the past, but you work towards having something that's better for the both of you,
Hmm.
for the
Yeah, that's
future.
how I was when I used to have when the Bank of Shea was open at one
Right?
time for many, many years. When somebody asked, is like only gave money if it was like for a necessity,
Yep.
food,
Yep.
shelter, or a
Mm-hmm.
utility bill or something
Yeah.
like that, or car payment. But after a while, it was like, I'm not gonna be paying your car
Right.
payment or your utility bills every
Right.
month. Like, you got a problem. Like, you need to go talk to somebody. Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
what's this problem? Like, you're choosing to go on
Yeah.
vacations or pay for this or that instead of pay for
Right.
your utilities or your bills or whatever it is. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's not cool. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
eventually most of them learned, or I just shut down the Bank of Shea. I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not giving you no money unless you're about to be evicted or
Right.
foreclosed on. Like,
Yeah.
I am not, because you're choosing to live this
Mm-hmm.
way,
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
so, yeah, just
Exactly.
having those conversations and like, you need to listen to Yahweh's Money, or you need
Right?
to schedule an appointment with one of
Ye-
C4C's counselors. Because
Yes.
my brother's like, can I meet with you? Like, no, I got Vanessa and Adriana and Eleanor and the rest of them. Like, I don't know. You don't need to meet with me because I don't
It's
want to be in
better
your
to meet with
business.
somebody you're not related to.
Exactly.
Oh my
Exactly.
goodness, yes.
And I think it's part of our ethics. We're not supposed to be helping family
Exactly.
like that. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, I was just like, no,
Yeah.
you need help. Or if you're military, go to the Family Readiness Center.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, and a lot of my friends and family are military. It's
For
like, you got free
so many
services,
free
dude.
resources.
So many. So
Uh,
you have no excuse. Like,
exactly. 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 But I think, there's a way to do this with showing someone grace in the situation and not like
mm,
always putting them down, because that's going to
yes.
make them not want to be with you either or hang out with you.
So true.
But, you can't like beat a dead horse. It's just, we
Hmm.
know we're going to move on. We're going to make better choices together. And I think
Hmm.
that's the thing, is being a united front, whether it's a friend or a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend situation or mother, child, whatever it is, open communication makes things so much better. So much better.
It does.
Yeah.
And being a role model, right?
Yeah,
Not only
exactly.
communicating, but being a role model,
Yeah.
knowing, like, people know that I don't really consider myself
Right.
cheap. I consider myself frugal because I like a nice thing, all right? I like a
Yes.
nice quality
Right.
stuff and it
Right.
costs money, but
Mm-hmm.
I save. And so
Exactly.
I constantly, when people are like, oh, you got a nice car, I saved
Pay
10
cash for that
years for
bad
that.
thing.
I
Yep. Mm-hmm.
paid off of my car and my student loans.
Yeah.
And that took a long time. When I
Yep.
went to Hawaii and did it big, I saved for a long 10 years. I always tell people,
Mm-hmm.
like, I
Mm-hmm.
save long periods of time for nice stuff.
Exactly.
Like, my
Exactly.
car isn't, I mean, it's had some work recently, but I'm planning on keeping it for a while. But I'm already saving for the next car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and hopefully that's 5, 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
But I'm saving for it so I don't
Right.
have to either have a smaller payment or not no payment
Yeah.
at all. But
Exactly.
I can, again, going back to that word, delay gratification.
Mm-hmm.
And so I constantly, when I'm having conversations about whatever, I'll throw in that little, nugget of information, and or be the role model. Like,
Right.
they're like, well, how did you do that? I saved, I cut
Yeah.
back, as we were talking, a bearable budget, and giving them those little nuggets of information as a role model.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've seen a lot of family members, not all, have learned from that and are doing the similar things. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
good role model, or they came around. And of course, there's a lot of good role models out there as well that they have,
Mm-hmm.
privy to.
Right.
So yeah, just being a
Yeah.
good role model in
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah, and and I think with this too, it doesn't have to be big changes either. You
Mm-mm.
and your friend who always go to happy hour on Thursday nights, find a place that has like dollar beers or, something smaller, or, share something when you go.
Exactly.
There's ways to do this where you can still do the things you want to do or your friend wants to do, but do it according to your budget. You don't
Mhm.
have to do the same thing they're doing. You can go with somebody to a nail salon and you can just get your nails painted versus getting,
Mm.
a full set. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things you can do to have that
So many
time and the
things.
quality, and do it with what works for you.
Or open up your home and have margarita. What is it? The Sweet
Exactly.
Magnolias or some series on Netflix that I watch, and they do
Mhm.
the margaritas every week. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
something like that, or or go
Exactly.
like to a park and just
Right.
just hang out in a park or
Yeah.
something. And I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so many free things. So
There
many free
really,
things to do.
really are. And I think that's where the person who is not at the same standard, they need to save a little bit
Mm,
more, has to get creative. And you can't just
mm,
say, I can't do that, and expect everything to be okay. You need to come with suggestions,
mm-hmm.
because if you're not giving them anything, they just think you don't want to hang out with them anymore. It's not,
Exactly.
it's like, oh, I can't do that. I'm poor. Or, oh, I don't have the
Yeah,
money for that.
exactly.
It's, hey, I can't do that. But would you want to do X, Y, or Z? Something in the
Mm-hmm.
similar, realm of things. Like, if your apartment complex has, something every holiday. Like I used to live in a place,
Mm,
speaking of margaritas, and it was
mm-hmm.
like every Cinco de Mayo, they would have free tacos and drinks and all those fun things. They didn't know if you lived there or not. So I would always ask a friend, hey, you want to come over and we'll go get tacos?
Yeah, of
And then we take
course.
them back to my house and we put some music
Mm-hmm.
on and we have so much fun and it's
Mm-hmm.
free. Or, there's tons of community activities, like, especially when it's
Mm-hmm.
nice outside. A lot
Yeah.
of cities do that or first Friday, and they give
Mm-hmm.
away lots of things, and there's music and car shows or
Exactly.
whatever there might be.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
you're
we have
still
that around here
out and
too.
about. You can stop and
Mhm.
get a drink if you want, but you don't have to
Mhm.
because the pressure's not there. So,
Exactly. Yeah, and that's so true. And just having an understanding and like you said
yeah,
earlier, grace about people that
right,
may not be as well off as
right.
you if you are, or and vice versa. Somebody who has more. Just need to find that compromise that you
Yeah.
still both feel comfortable going somewhere. Maybe you don't want to go to the rundown bar
Hmm.
because, whatever. Or you don't want to go to the expensive bar because of whatever. You
Yeah,
can find a really nice
yeah.
in between, or just do it at
Hmm.
home and make your
Hmm.
own drinks.
Yeah.
you know.
And if you're
So
struggling, sometimes you may not get invited, and that's okay too. That is
Exactly.
okay too because they're respecting where you're at.
Or you should be saying no anyway because you
Exactly.
need to sit home and just save
Exactly. Exactly.
money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, awesome, awesome. Any final thoughts?
I think this just comes down to surround yourself with people who are like minded and can help you
Mm,
along your journey. And then at some
exactly.
point, you're going to be the one who's helping others along the journey. So,
That's so good.
yeah,
And also, I also hear is if you are trying to achieve greater success in any area of your life, including finances, you might want to be around people that have,
that's true
so
too.
you can look up and learn and join them on their level one day. But, if you want to stay at the level you are, that's fine. You find people that are like, but if you're trying to go up and do something amazing in other areas,
Hmm.
then you find role models that have
True.
achieved that success. So, either way is fine, but having grace and forgiveness of yourself for
Yeah.
whatever it may be, if it's something bad happened in the
Hmm.
communication with your family, you can fix that.
Yeah.
So
And
just,
talk
yeah,
about it. Talk, talk,
talk
talk.
about it. Exactly, exactly. Well, y'all, thank you for joining us for another great episode today. Don't forget to follow us wherever podcasts are found. And remember, it's always better Yahweh's way. Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the crossroads of religion and money. Also, we would love to hear your feedback on today's episode. So please leave us a review or just tell us what's on your mind. And remember to follow our podcast. If you have any questions or suggestions of topics for us to discuss, please email us at yahweh@crusaders4change.org. To hear all of Yahweh's Money latest episodes, please visit us at www.crusaders4change.org or wherever podcasts are found. God bless.